Hey, Nick, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Nick van der Kolk. I come from the Netherlands. I've been in sales for around 16 years, and I've pretty much done all kind of sales jobs you can imagine, from retail to cold calling, booking meetings to account exec, field sales, uh, doing remote selling. I worked in EMEA, so Ireland, and then also went to APAC, and now I'm back in Europe.
Yeah. And why'd you get into sales?
Because the only thing I was good at, to be honest,
Yeah.
wasn't
Did
really good at studying, and I started full time at 16. So
at selling?
yeah, it's selling. Yeah, working in retail sales. Yeah,
Yeah. What retail was it?
consumer electronics.
Nice.
So yeah, I sold the first iPhones and stuff like that.
Wow.
Had
Cool.
to convince people that mobile data was a good idea. And so then I sold a lot of phone subscriptions and actually started working for a telecommunications provider after that in B2B.
Yeah. And what was your favorite sales job? Current one, I guess, but I guess that's
I have to say current one, right?
yeah.
Now, I must say retail sales is fun. It's horribly paid, but it's really fun to do. You have a lot of inbound traffic. There is an element of selling in it, and if you're good at it, you can make a difference. Like there's a lot of valuable lessons I learned in that part of my life. At the most fun. I like making money, so I guess my current job then as a VP.
Yeah. I mean, I started retail, real sales, commission sales when I was a senior in high school, selling shoes.
Right.
And you do learn a lot because you get a lot of tire kickers, but that's a US where people just are there to look around.
Yeah, I very much remember that. The big difference when I started selling and I learned my lesson that I sold cameras, for example, right? And a
Yeah,
lot of people like how many megapixels it had or whatever the size of the screen. And actually, at the end of the day, nobody gave a shit. Like you had to talk about what are you going to use it for? Are you going
totally.
to have a newborn child, or are you going to go on holiday? What are you going to do? And oh well, then this is really good for you. Blah blah blah. And so yeah, that really like listening and understanding what people want and do was a key lesson. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you get to learn how to read people. I mean, I only did it for a little over a year, but I could look at someone's feet and guess the size of their shoe. And you start to say, okay, is this person trying on? Are they buying? Will they want to try on before they buy? Like some guys come in and they go, I'm a size 12. You want to
Right.
try them on? We'll spend $150. At that time, $150 on boots was a lot. But, they, nope, just buying.
It's a good point you make that reading because I really liked poker as well when I was young. So I don't know if that was connected or not, but it's definitely
Right.
some valuable lessons in there.
Well, it kind of goes to that judgment skill of,
Yeah,
what to work on. Because you look at your pipeline or your CRM every morning and you're like, they're not all going to close, nor do they have all the equal likelihood of closing.
no, you're right. Yeah, it's interesting how humans at the end of the day are, the body language and reading off people is a very valuable skill, and yeah, you can apply it in so many things. But yeah, it's a skill that you need to develop though, so it's not something that you have overnight. So it's a lot of experience, and you can't really learn it anywhere either. I think it's also just a matter of doing.
It is, because you can read the books and everybody asks me about books. And it's like, yeah, read the books. It's a good start. Listen to the podcasts, but you got to try it, get feedback, try it
Right.
again, and assume that it's you that has to
Right.
change because the world ain't going to change. It's you that has to change.
Would agree. I
Yeah.
think the other element is also if you're coachable, right? So it's the just doing it and then also being open for feedback. If you get a no, most salespeople don't do this, but like ask the prospect why not, or like what led you to the no, uh, and then improve yourself from it. But as long as you do that, that you put in the hours, then that will grow.
Yeah. So what are you doing now?
So I'm currently the VP of Sales at TravelPerk. TravelPerk is a business booking platform for business travel. Basically, you're booking.com for any business trip you want to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I run the SMB unit there. So SMB, we define that as companies that have a travel spend per year in between 50 and $1 million a year. So, and I joined that exactly at when COVID had reached the world and was spreading. So it was an amazing choice going into sales for travel, business travel.
Yeah.
At, but yeah, so it's a big crisis, and it's it's interesting to go through, and as a sales unit are being faced with that very problem, because we only charge, or we only make money. We don't charge really, but we only get money if people book. If no
Oh,
bookings, no money.
yeah. And how
Uh,
big is your team?
so I have 10 managers, and so roughly 100 people.
Wow.
Yeah,
So,
and that goes from AEs to SDRs and account management. So I have three different disciplines.
nice. And when did you go into leadership out of being a rep?
That was at HubSpot. So in a company before that in Ireland. So HubSpot is a CRM player, and I was I was the head for the Nordic territory, but basically me managing myself, right? And then that grew, and that company really blew up. Yeah, just managing yourself, head of a region, but then it was just you, and that grew. So yeah, that exploded. The company HubSpot went in the Dublin office from like 50 people to 800. So
Wow.
it blew up, and then I got a chance to become a manager.
Yeah, nice.
And yeah, that's how it went. I think going through those, glass ceilings or whatever, right, from level to level is really hard. But if you get the internal chance to do so, uh, and you're the right type, you gotta like it though.
You
Not
gotta
not for
like it.
everyone, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And what do you like about it?
For me, it's honestly if I can change people's lives. So what I mean with that is if I can be a part of someone's growth, which then enables them to make more money, buy that car, get married, have children, whatever. Obviously, I'm not the one making their children, right? But I am helping with their career and their
I
development.
hope not.
No, but I'm helping with their development, changing their life for the better. And if I can do something meaningful, which otherwise would not have been possible, that to me is so the legacy, I guess, right? It's all about the legacy
Yeah.
for me.
And where'd that come from? That desire?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of one of the elements of flow is that helper's high.
Yeah, but I can't sit here and tell you honestly like I'm such a do-gooder, or like I'm huge into charity. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm very self-centered and materialistic and all that. But I do think that if for the people that I care about that I know, right, and if I can have an impact on their life for a positive sense, I just feel proud. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
And that feels meaningful to me. Other stuff that I don't really care.
Yeah. I mean, it does, especially like when you see people or you can prevent the mistakes that you know they're going to make or a lot of people make early in their career.
Right. Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And yeah.
and like
It's all the same. Yeah,
one of the key things is like, make sure you go in the right industry, the difference between retail and SaaS.
sure.
I mean,
Yeah, that
we were
yeah.
the same people, right?
Yeah, retail is on its decline, or at least it's very difficult these days, and SaaS is growing. But
Right.
yeah,
But
no, it's if you help people uh, achieve their full potential, or at least make them better, and again have an incremental change on someone for the better,
yeah,
that's huge. So to me that gives me, it's like a drug, because to me before that, right, why sales for me it was always like a drug feeling. You get this temporary high of a close,
the
you
dopamine.
feel this
Yeah.
great, and then after that it sort of floats away, and you need your another heroin shot, right? You need to get that new drug dose again. And the legacy bit as a manager or a leader is a little bit longer lasting. It's like as if you're proud of your kids,
Yeah.
as a grandpa.
You're more building something
Right.
and you understand the roller coaster a little better
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's
So
less
that's
personal to you. And
yeah.
the great leaders look at the quarter and the year from a higher altitude as opposed to the rep looks at minute to minute, right?
Sure.
Every email refresh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you're building that is it, and then yeah. I try to build up my management career to try to be part of building something big. So I'd like it to be big, because like
Yeah.
a huge ego thing, or I don't know. Just I'd like it to be big.
And what is that driven by? Is it competition? Is it, did you have a rough upbringing? Did you?
Well, I grew up poor, so that's for sure.
Yeah,
But I guess, yeah, I am very competitive. I don't know. It's just one of those things that, yeah, maybe it's ego, maybe it's competition, or it's just I want it to be huge.
yeah,
Um, Otherwise, I don't find it meaningful. I don't know. And I guess I don't know if most salespeople can relate. I guess if they dig a bit deeper, yeah, it's about the money, but it's also about doing something that matters. You come into the company, you close this big deal, right? And everybody looks at you like, yeah, you just provided them another month of salary, etc. You know?
yeah. And part of that's ingrained in DNA. Certainly probably more for guys than women. From a
Yeah, the provider type, right? That's what you mean.
well, in the tribe, there's a ranking in pretty much every species, a pecking order.
Uh-huh.
Like in chickens, the king chicken gets to eat first, right?
Okay, I get you. Yeah.
But we see it, guys naturally, and a lot of people, lean towards sports. And, certainly in school, it's like, can you take them? Can you beat them up? Who's,
Right. And I was never really good in any sport. So I guess this also just has to do with
yeah,
it was the only thing I was good at, really good
yeah.
at. And so that's it. Yeah. And then sure, I don't like to be second. That's true.
And what triggers the competition? Is it seeing a competitor win a deal? Is it somebody who you're better than getting promoted?
Yeah.
Is it internal?
I don't, that's a good question. I've never really thought about why the competitive side inside of me exists or resides. And I think in a lot of salespeople, right, when you have a sales chart, you want to be on top. Like, and if you're number two, then it just feels like it was you might as well have been number 10. It didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Or you have to qualify for President's Club, and if you don't, you don't feel as good, even though you could have had a decent year. But um, I don't really know, to be honest. It's a good
Yeah.
question.
Well, when I see a competitor, even visible, it could be, right before I go to bed, I see that, and then all of a sudden I'm online, I'm doing something. I've got to, get at least my internal ranking higher.
Right.
And that's what triggers me. It's mostly external stuff when I see it. And I had a great friend in sales, and he's never worried about his income. He goes, as long as I know I'm number one, I know I'm going to be making the most money. And he hung
Sure.
around people who were his competitors because it fired him up.
Yeah, I guess I also just like to disrupt stuff. Like our business model,
Yeah.
for example, is very disruptive and to stir up the pot, let's say, or change the status quo.
Yeah.
Well, the crisis also helps with it. So it's kind of, when you have a good crisis, can also be a huge opportunity, even if you're in the midst of the craziness.
And your business is hyper competitive.
Well, yeah, in a sense, yes, because well, it's a commodity, right? So you're going to on a business trip and you want to book. Where do you go? Well, you have a lot of choices, right? You can go to a consumer site. You go there because it's nice, easy, but then you have to pay yourself, and then you have to expense it to your
Yeah.
company, and you have to do a bunch of admin work, and everybody loves that, yay. Or you have like these systems that are like a business, or you have a travel agent even, which you have to email. They email you back. Oh no, I want to change that, and then you have to email the travel agent again, and etc. Uh, yeah, or these systems that are very, let's say, not so consumer friendly or not as easy as a Booking.com, etc. Yeah, and so we try to disrupt that. So we try to combine the consumer experience with a business booking, um, yeah, software, and it's free to use. So in that sense, yeah, it's hyper competitive because you can just use it. You can book.
Yeah.
There we also have a premium version where you pay per trip, but either way, there's no monthly fee, there's no implementation cost, none of that. And that is the norm normally, right? Like a service cost or like a monthly thing that you have to pay.
And who do you sell it to? Not, I know it's to companies, but to who
Right.
within the company? Is it
So
um,
yeah, so either
finance?
you, yeah, so it's finance or it's the well, if they have a travel manager or an executive assistant or someone who deals with the office management, and travel expense can actually be in the very top of a company's
It's
expenses.
huge.
So
Yeah.
some companies have a huge travel cost. So it depends a bit on the type of company, but yeah, usually those are our personas. Yes, the people we focus on.
Yeah. And what type of salespeople do you look for?
Um, well, I try to be unbiased, which is of course bullshit. You kind of always look for,
You can't be
the person for yourself. So we make sure that we have different interviewers, so that we don't let our biases creep in. But I look for someone who is, for me, being driven is key. So what drives them, what makes them happy. I don't necessarily care too much about that degree, to be really honest. So it's, for me, it's all about what drives them in life, what do they want to achieve, and why, um, and if they can listen.
Yeah. And how do you
Curious,
qualify that? How do you, because you got an hour interview with them
right? So I
and
typically go into this soul search of what drives them. So I ask a lot of like, how come, and how so, and why is that? And the other, so that then I try to discover their, why they care, why not go into marketing or sales ops or whatever, customer success. And the other bit would be, so that's for the being driven. And if they're curious or not, it's just real simple role play. The simple role play is zero knowledge required. I don't give a shit if they know anything about our product or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just, are
yeah.
they asking questions? Are they listening? Yes or no? And that's it.
Because, I've heard other people say, oh, you can't teach curiosity. Do you have strong feelings about that?
I mean, you have curious people. I think you
You
can
do,
you can
right.
coach you can coach someone to know how to do it, but you have people who like to talk, and people who like to,
Listen. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's true. And just being able to pitch is not, I mean, yeah, if you can do an amazing presentation, that's valuable.
Yeah.
But it's more valuable if you truly understand someone else, and everybody likes to listen or to talk about themselves. So
And that's it, because I always found a sales interview kind of a paradox in that, because the feedback I always got from the headhunter was, oh, he's not that salesy.
mhm,
Because I was used to selling to engineers. And if you act like a salesperson, they just shut you down.
right, it must be difficult, yeah, to engineers.
Yeah. So what I learned was, and my headhunters would always say, just grab a cup of coffee before you get on the phone with him and pretend you're pitching, because
Right.
that's what they want to hear. Now, the curiosity thing, I got to believe that it can be learned, but clearly, if it's already there, why spend 6 months to a year trying to develop somebody that might not develop?
Yeah, and this curiosity, you also have to really truly care about the product or the thing you sell. Like if you sell toilet paper, and okay, some people are actually selling toilet paper, are super passionate about it, that's cool. Like then that's okay. But if you're not really curious about the other side, then you know,
Yeah, because that
has to be
first
genuine.
part, that motive part, and I liked how you positioned it, where you said, "Why don't you work in marketing or sales ops or a salary based?" Because there's a very
Sure.
different,
Sure.
because the killers don't go into those roles. They're more the farmers, the cooperators, the people
Sure.
who succeed in sales. Typically, there's an emotional connection to winning.
Right. And also, otherwise you won't last. Like you might do it for a year or two, but try to do
Well,
having quota for 10 years, like
Well, you
just
see
won't
the
last.
Boy Scouts in sales all the time. Like in the US, we call a Boy Scout as somebody who just follows the rules, does what they're told. But if they lose, they shrug it off and they move on. They don't like care enough to like fight for it. And that especially when you're the underdog or in your hyper competitive space like yours.
Yeah. 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 And I think it's that passion bit, I guess, and wanting to win. Yeah, it's just being driven and doing it for another reason other than the quota.
Yeah,
The quota is a stepping stone to something else. It might be that you want to buy the house or the
right. There's
car you
got to
always
be.
read about, or what. It has to be something. And if you don't really care, you don't value money that much, then why put yourself through all that
Screw it.
all that stuff?
Right.
And that's the other thing. If you grew up poor, you're an immigrant or whatever, sometimes you even have an edge
You
because you're
have an
not used to
edge.
anything. You're not used to anything.
And I like that when I hear it, because
Yeah,
otherwise you get kind of the victim thing or the snowflake thing, and it's like, okay, you're in sales, we have to produce.
right. and you control it yourself, and the hunger at the end of the day will get you to good heights. Yeah.
Yeah. And have you made many hiring mistakes?
Well, and in the travel business, we had a hiring freeze because of the crisis. So not I didn't make any hiring mistakes because I didn't hire anyone.
Everybody.
But before that, I did hire. I didn't make hiring mistakes. I mean, I definitely made some hires that turned out then to leave, or they decided sales is at the end of the day still not for me, or just didn't work out. So yes. Uh, so yeah, I guess so.
Well, I asked that because what did you learn from that? Because that's a mistake that tends to take a while to fix. You got to
Right.
give them enough time to make sure it's them and not us.
Yeah. I mean, so when I made hires, I didn't make the hires alone. So in general, I don't like that. Okay, you can be the hiring manager, that's fine, right? But you need to try to take in the opinions of other people that separately interview without your notes, like have make their own opinion, then discuss these things or topics and then see if it fits and if it makes all sense. So then if you make a joint decision, yeah, you either together screwed it up or you did it right. Um, and then yeah, you can look back in the mirror and look back in if could we have done a better job, and I guess the answer is always yes. But the key lesson for me was or is that if you try to not let your biases creep in, because I think you're looking for someone like you, like that's at the end of the day what
That's
you're
the
doing.
problem. Yeah.
That can be a problem, yeah. um, and so if you have different, like at least three people make a decision on a hire, I think that's the key lesson for me. And
Yeah.
then you'll screw up the least. Yeah, you'll still screw it up, like it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Not everybody has it or works out.
That's it. Because I've seen a lot of hiring managers want to hire just like themselves. And I had a boss who's like, and I asked him, well, what are you looking for? And he described himself exactly. You know,
Yeah, and that's also what the biggest mistake usually people make in their interviews. They think it's all about the exact perfect answers they give or their resume, but it's not. It's like, if do they like you?
do they
It's the
like
most
you?
important thing. Yeah,
Right.
do they like you?
That's it. Because what's the question you ask those other people after the candidate leaves?
Did
Did
you
you like
like him
them?
or her? Yes, exactly. Yes, that's it. And then sure, like, do you think you could do it? But that's a different thing. Like, how do you know after speaking with someone?
Yeah, especially like you were probably interviewing people without any B2B sales experience.
Yeah, so we can have entry level roles, and
Yeah.
then you do a little role play, and then you find out a little bit if they're curious and they can, have the basics. And usually I do two role plays, right? So then I do a round, I give them some feedback, and do the exact same thing again. I just answer differently though. Same scenario, I just answer differently, and see if they incorporated some of the feedback. At least are they open to it? And if yes, then at least you can coach them a bit.
Right.
Or are they very stubborn and you know?
Yeah. Or you get the half hour explanation of why they did it. And it's like that's
Right,
not coach. That's the opposite of coachability. That's defensiveness.
right, right. Uh, so that to me is
How about
the
like
main thing.
the resilience, the grit element?
Yeah, that's connected to the hunger to me, or I think so.
Yeah.
It's the if you're hungry enough,
You'll push through it
you'll push through, and yeah, you're gonna be getting bad experiences. Or like in the store, I had angry people,
all
in
the
the
time.
B2B, I got hang up on. Like, who likes to be cold called? Like, or who likes to prospect in general? There's not, not a whole lot of people that
Well,
like to do it.
right. No one likes rejection. I mean, talk
Yes,
about DNA. That's like next to death is rejection.
right. But you gotta, the people that grit are the people that truly want it. And why do you want it? Well, you gotta be hungry, or it has to be for a reason. If you have a family that's gonna starve otherwise, or you want to be on top, very competitive, etc. But it has to be something that pushes you through it.
Yeah. And have you ever, how do you tell that? I guess just through past history, like how they grew up, you know, any examples? Because
I, yeah,
next
go
to
ahead.
sports was really performance. Like people who played a musical instrument, drama club, debating.
Yeah, there are certain things that you can digest it from, but ultimately it's trying to dig into their soul while you're asking questions and going really deep. So you have to ask 5 or 6 layers of questions of the same topic until you get to the final. Like, why sales? I typically just start, why do you want to be in sales?
Yeah.
Well, I like it because I want to make money. Okay, why does that matter? You can also make money in marketing, so why sales? And I
Yeah.
keep going and keep digging and keep digging. Um, yeah, and then usually you get to the core of it.
So you're a little bit of a therapist then.
Yeah, I guess, or at least, yeah, like what's the meaning of life type of thing.
Well, you start to learn the buttons that you can later use to motivate them,
Yes, yeah, that's true. Once you know that, then you can also use it later on when reverse engineering their goal.
their motivation and stuff.
Right. Very, yes, that's true. Yeah.
Do you ever think you'll go back to being a rep, or you like the management side, the leadership side?
So I have a side business for myself where it's me and one friend who's the technical guy. So I'm the only sales guy. So he does all the tech, I do the selling, and I can't, yeah. So yes, I'm still doing it because it's just something that I can't really stop doing, but it's on the side. So it's
Yeah.
like an evening and weekend thing.
I've found that a lot with salespeople. There's always, even if it's just helping and talking through it with other people, or that their friends are entrepreneurs, or
Sure.
they've,
Yeah, you can't let it go, I
you let
guess.
it go.
It's still in
It's a
you.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No, I'm not the one who like wants to be an ivory tower and never have to deal with any customer anymore. Like that's not me.
Yeah.
I like to be engaged.
Cool. Hey, it's been a fun conversation. Where can people go to connect with you and learn more about your work?
So travelperk.com is our website, and on LinkedIn, I have a difficult name for.
It's a
I
lot.
don't think you can pronounce it. So it's Nick van der Kolk. Actually, a famous. Oh no, I don't know if he's famous, but there's a radio host in the US with my name, Love Radio or something. So if you Google my name, you won't find me because you find him. He's more famous than me. But so yeah, it's Nick van der Kolk in
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
With a space in between each.
Space in between each. That's right.
Cool.